So I was only 1 year sober. When COVID hit, I got so scared. I was like, are you kidding me? The news kept showing stories about people being out of work or companies having to shut down, and I just didn't know how I would survive that. So I had an idea: hazmat suits. I told my employees, hey guys, we're not gonna have any work unless we make ourselves valuable. Are you guys willing to disinfect workplaces so these critical companies can stay in business? We did, in fact, increase our revenue that month by $100,000. And that year, our company did our first ever $1 million in revenue because HR professionals and companies were asking me where I was finding my workers because their workers were sitting at home making more money on unemployment. And I said, well, people coming out of prison aren't eligible for unemployment. That year was the best and worst year of my life. Since my dad was so sick, he was able to maintain sobriety, and I really got to have a lot of conversations with him. In the morning, I will never forget a call. It was my grandmother who lived with my dad at the time, and she had told me that my dad wasn't waking up. When I got there, the police officer had told me that my dad had passed away. I was able to renovate the house that his mom lived in, move in with her. As I continued to use work to push through my grief, my company did $5 million that year. I was numb the entire time. The work did not seem fun or exciting. I created Cornbread Hustle because it was always my dream to be sober with my dad and have my dad join me on this mission. Losing my dad, although he was the source of a lot of my pain, he was also the source of my hope. And when my dad died, a piece of my hope died. Cornbread Hustle went from being a blessing to becoming a burden for me. I no longer was excited to grow the company. I was showing up to work every day because I had to. It was hard for me to care about anything because the person that I cared about the most had left. In part 7, I will explain how I got through those difficult years and some of the things that I had learned about myself. As a reminder, I am doing this Skills First series to help HR professionals and business leaders understand that there is always a story behind somebody's situation. I am sharing my story because I am vulnerable enough to share the pain that I've struggled with that others usually suffer in silence with.